Welcome Year 8 to the next tutorial on how to refine your work. So at this moment in time, you might have completed most of your paintings, but at this stage what I want to avoid is you thinking that is it and that is done, because of course in art there's never really an end game. We always have to improve our work. So we can use thick and thin line, we can use watercolours, we can use pencil crayons to add to the overall appearance of our work. So I'm going to start off today with some pencil crayon. I've got these lovely colour soft pencils that I'm going to be applying to the work, and you can use these now to add in a variety of tone into your design. So by using pencil crayon, you can gently work in more tone than you could do with your painting. And because it's a dry media, you won't have to worry about it or waiting for it to dry. You can actually literally just keep working over. Now if you don't like what you put in, by all means get a rubber and you can fade it out. And if I was doing this section over here, just on the K, I can get a rubber and I can fade that back into the painting, because the layer before is obviously the painting layer. Use circular motions if you want to blend a little bit more, and you can also use your fingers with these pencil crayons. They are really nice to use. I'm going to add a little bit of red within there, just on this Kit Kat one. And then a bit of red within there as well. And then I've got a little bit of brown, a little bit of burgundy, and experiment. Now, basically what you're looking for, if you're working on a red area, you want to get at least 3 tones. So a dark red, a really light red, and a mid-solid red as well. So you can get more blending in your work, which is easier to do with the pencil crayons, and some of you obviously will prefer this method. Now there are other types of pencil crayons that you can use. You can also use watercolour pencil crayons, and when you apply them they go on like a pencil crayon, like I'm doing today, but then what will happen is when you apply water to them, they'll turn into watercolour paints. You don't have to do that to the whole section, but you can do it to certain areas, and it'll give you that general effect of blending and painting styles that you've seen previously. Okay, once you've done that, you can then work into it using line. Now I recommend thick or thin now. I'm going to be quite steady with this because of course I'm demoing, but for yourselves, use a ruler, particularly when you've got lots of straight edges. So the reason artists use thick and thin lines is to give it a little bit more interest, a bit more clarity, to define between shapes. So I'm using some thick lines on the bottom of the K, but as it comes up, I'm using thinner lines. I'm not outlining the whole thing, I'm just giving it a little bit more definition, which you can do with outliner pens. I've got my fine liner pen, which I'm going to work back into. I'm going to go back into the text, and that's the fine liner pen going on, which you can just see it now. And then finally, if you wanted to, there's any of the bits you want to touch up, then by all means you can add a little bit of the watercolours. Now because I've got ink on my work, I've got to be careful now that it doesn't bleed into it, because ink has this lovely tendency of bleeding. Now of course if you want that as an effect, brilliant, but if you don't want it as an effect, just be aware that that could potentially happen. So I'm just going to add a little bit more, just a little hint over here with the paint. I'm going to go on just over the top, and what I've got now is a more worked effect. Okay, and again you could use the same with white paint on here to add in some of the highlights. I can blend a little bit around that ink, which you can just see me doing there, and there I have it. So think about that. When your work is finished, work back into it as much as you can with the pencil crayons, lines, watercolours, and so on and so forth, and that is it. Thank you very much.